Welcome to the Legacy of Luxury, live here from the Solomon Brothers Studios. If you like this show, if you love this show, subscribe, follow us, spread the good word. We are trying to share the gospel of luxury and jewelry and all the fun things in life. I am with Mr. Jaron Solomon. Jaron, how you doing, bud?
Well, I'm doing great, Nick, and I know you're all jacked up this morning,
I
so
am.
I'm excited for the listeners to get an even more energetic
I
Nick,
am.
if
I'm
that's
stoked.
possible.
I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I got very ridiculous story, but talk about luxury. I was 22 years old, somehow started a personal chef company, and ended up cooking at the Sundance Film Festival, which is the definition of opulence and luxury. And in our process of cooking for this thing, these guys we were with played this song that I thought was lost in the ether. And this morning, a buddy of mine somehow found it in his email from 20 years ago, sent it to me, and it makes me so happy. I will not share the contents of that song.
Please don't.
Because we were on radio, but I'm all jacked up. And speaking of Sundance, and I don't want to make lofty comparisons, but my man, tell me about Centurion. Tell me about what I'm about to experience at the Biltmore in Arizona, because I am so excited.
Yeah, so my favorite show of the year for many different reasons. One, the weather. As we sit here today, I think we leave on Saturday. The wind chill is going to be -1 in
Right.
Atlanta. So I'm very excited to go to Arizona for a few days. And that really brings the whole vibe of the show. And so
Yeah.
I don't know about
Palm tree line walking in,
yeah. And so for those of you out there that go to trade shows of any kind that you do, right, it's just nice when the vibes are good, the weather's good, the convention center's nice, it's clean, they've got good events for us, good entertainment.
Yeah.
So you're about to walk into a very fun, laid back show. You experienced the show in Vegas. This is the total opposite. It is really just a nice, very luxury. For those
Love
of
it.
you that listen to us, which probably not many of you out there, but
And if you do, you certainly understand luxury.
Yes. We did an episode about the depths of Vegas and the dungeon.
The underbelly.
The underbelly. That's right.
The seedy underbelly.
That
the
is
gypsy underbelly.
That's right. That is not here. That's not at this show. This show is purely luxury, purely fine jewelry. And we go and find out what's trending, what's happening in the industry. And these are the trendsetters. And then everything else will trickle down, right? So for folks that, see stuff in silver or even common metals, but the actual styling, it's all going to come out of this show.
Yeah. And I'm curious, because of $5,300 an ounce of gold we've hit, because of 130 in silver, these are not things that they could have pre-planned about. There's no way any of these brands have built into their repertoire to talk about these things, because they're planning this thing for months in advance. So how much of it, and it's probably a broader question about the industry, but how much of this is predisposed? How much of them is them thinking on the fly? How much of them is getting together and be like, what do we do as an industry about this? Or is this just they planned this stuff in October and we're seeing the aftermath of that?
What a great question. And honestly, what a great differentiator between our business, what I call the independent jeweler business, versus the big box business like you would see in the malls and things like that.
Yeah. Not knocking it. There's value everywhere.
No, I'm saying the planning cycle, right? The planning, I can't imagine being a owner of a chain, or the CEO of a chain store, because you've got to plan that out 6 months in advance easily. So what are they doing? I have no idea. But to answer your question, what our vendors are going to be doing is they work with primarily independent jewelers like us, and they can move on the fly. So you've seen us interviewing the owners of these companies, and we're going to see them at the show, and they're friends of ours, right? And they listen, and they can move on a dime because they don't have programs that they're selling into K's and Zales or into mall chains and things of that
where
nature.
you're just making your money on volume. You don't have to be that clever. It's just get yourself in there. It's high traffic. Who cares what the margins are? We're volume. We're playing that game.
Absolutely. And you gotta have it planned out for months. Here, if we want to make a decision at the show,
Yeah.
what we're going
I
to do
mean,
for
I've
the next
seen it
3
happen.
months,
I've seen it happen.
that's
You
what's
you
going to
included
happen.
me in decisions,
Yeah.
but I was only 3 months in the
So
industry.
it's
So
going to be a wild show though,
yeah, yeah.
because of these metal prices.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's just blatantly clear is like the leverage in situations shifts, right? It always does.
Yeah.
A lot of these brands, and you know, we're going to have these conversations. So this shouldn't be new news to anybody that used to be these hugely, massively established brands did so on a very local level, on a very national level, you know, when you could be in Vogue or Elle and all of a sudden you have this huge footprint and that's enough. Nowadays, and this is similar to what happened in the media industry and to radio, but when digital marketing came about, it made everything so about hyper local and serving you what you need at this moment.
Yeah.
Right. The power has kind of gone to the local jewelers because the leverage of this brand is strong in Atlanta and making its way further out. So it's going to be interesting to have a lot of those conversations. So I think what I want to do, we're going to make this the first of the series, and then we're going to actually do a show with different pieces. So what kind of questions are you most interested in asking Simon G and Paul Takorian and all the people that are going to be there? What kind of questions? What do we want to know about them? What do we want to know from them? And what can we, I don't want to purposely ever give someone a hard question, but like tell me about your inspiration. Like we've gotten those answers before.
Yeah.
Like, how are you hedging? How do you make silver cool?
Yes.
Now silver's too expensive. What's next? Are we going to rhodium? Like, who knows? How do we, what kind of questions do you want to ask? Because I think that will frame what we're trying to get out of it.
Yeah. And I think the number one question, the hard question, Nick, is to anyone in luxury is, do you continue to keep the quality? Right? What are you going to do with these metal prices? Are you going to keep the quality of the piece? Because what people don't understand is that there is a mixture in these rings. And what makes one ring better than the other is how pure it is, right? And the mixture that goes in. So we'll probably see our buddy Sumai from AJFE, shout out, no free ads, but, you know, he uses palladium in his white gold.
Yeah.
That's the best you can possibly do
well,
when you're
that's
mixing in
because
white gold.
that's the best club in Acapulco. And there is a part where a devil comes out of the floor and spins fire around and fireworks shoot down the side of a cliff in Acapulco. So palladium is by far the best metal, unequivocally.
Nick, that was just the tequila bottle you finished.
No, that really happened. That really happened. I went to Acapulco on spring break, and it was the crazy. You cannot be caught. No, actually, you can be caught, and you will be dead in Acapulco if you go now.
Gosh.
But my goodness gracious, palladium. Okay, carry on. Carry on.
And so using it in those rings, palladium just hit $2,000 an ounce.
But it's also a very precious metal.
Yeah,
Not easy to find. Like you're on a platinum level. Isn't it a platinum metal?
It's a family of platinum.
Look
and
at that. I'm learning.
You're a fast study.
There you go.
And so, but you know, so does he go to using a different mixture in that metal? And so what are these guys going to do? Are you going to sacrifice quality? Are you going to sacrifice your reputation? Or are you going to keep pushing on and saying, this is what we're committed to? And then, but how do you do that, right? I mean, consumers have price sensitivities.
Yeah.
So what happens? I think that's a really interesting.
Well, let me ask you this part of this, because from what you've taught me, 10 karat gold, while it is in theory a cheaper than 18 karat, is harder. So it's harder to work with. So can you just start working with palladium, or do you have to put into R&D to learn how to do it? And it works differently than platinum and the brittleness. So is it as easy as just swapping out a metal, or is the infrastructure required doesn't justify it because these gold prices might come down? I mean, these are answers I think would be very fun to ask.
For sure. And, you know, we don't have a ton of study on these lower carat weights because we haven't sold them for so long.
Right.
I have jewelers here that have been here for over 20 years, but they don't have the experience and knowledge base to tell me, hey, if you go to 10 karat, this is what's going to happen. Right. So I think it's going to be really fascinating, and that'll be the good questions to ask them. That's the tough question.
Yeah.
You know, is, hey, are you concerned about margin? Are you concerned about the consumer? Are you concerned about quality? Is it all of the above? And, you know, can you even answer that? I mean, I can promise you right now, you know, Cartier prices are not coming down because they will not sacrifice the quality.
Right.
I don't think. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming assuming the best in these folks, but you know.
Now, are they in a lab sitting back there and finding ways to mix metals that are cheaper but fulfill the same goal of hardening, of nickel, of all these different parts? Because I have to imagine the ones that put the R&D usually are the ones that win. So I wonder, and I don't know if any of these brands are in that level, but if it were me, I'd be putting the research in now to hedge against these things happening in the future. Because look, if we're in a position that I know we are, that you're saying we are, that these brands will probably admit to, consolidation of some kind is coming. You cannot work at the margins they're given. Everyone's trying to squeeze you. And that's something I've learned, honestly, honestly about us as a company, about marketing. What happens when we are in these service-based sectors and we're not creating products is everyone adds a level of service and bureaucracy, and everyone's trying to squeeze margins from you. So like if everybody takes 3%, right? Individually, 3%, no big deal. But by the time you give it to 5 people, you just gave away 15%, which you're taking away from your bottom line. Can you show you're 15% more effective? So I'm curious, give us an example. Who do you think? So we'll meet with Gabriel and we'll meet with Corey and Jaffe and all the big names.
Yeah.
Tell me who you think of those brands you believe will be the most dynamic and that you're most excited to have these conversations, and who are a little bit more, look, man, we've ridden this out before. This isn't the first time this has happened.
Oh man, you're gonna.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, you're gonna get me into some trouble with some of my vendors out there.
Look, there's no right answer here, right? The ones that are tried and true, honestly, almost always win.
No, what I've seen, I'll give a shout out to Crown Ring, my boy Ron over there, the owner Jaime. These are guys that have a very long-term vision. Prior to all of this chaos, right? When they came in to try and take case space in my store, they came in with the vision of, I want linear feet because I want the volume and I want the sales. It wasn't about margin. It wasn't about anything. And,
and they applied dynamic pricing, which was a pain in the tushy to begin with, but now is helpful because that dynamic pricing allows us to save some of the hassle of making decisions for ourselves.
Folks, for those of you that have been listening to the show, Nick always takes my next line of what I'm going to talk about. So yes, the dynamic pricing in the B2B.
We finish each other's sandwiches.
We're made for each other. But that's exactly right. They are already primed to basically not cause any chaos amongst the retailer, right? So because they have dynamic pricing and they're so well organized, I think organization is going to win the day right now. You don't necessarily need to, because you don't want chaos in these situations. You want to just continue forward.
Right.
So
you'd rather have the steady hand and go up 1% every couple of days than go up 20% at one time.
Yeah. And so for anyone who's listening to this that has ever dealt with retail, or back in your youngster days, you retagged anything, that is our pain point. So if you can be dynamically priced and I don't have to retag 1,000 SKUs every 2 weeks, or shoot, every day at the moment, because gold is going so crazy, that is hugely helpful to the retailer. So that's why I'll say right now, Crown wins the day because they win the organization.
And I would imagine, though, that same time, that was a substantial investment. Dynamic pricing is not cheap. In theory, in execution, like that is not an easy process. Because if it was, every company in America would rather do dynamic pricing. Now, how tricky you get with dynamic pricing, shout out to Delta, who's pretty much the devil of it. Like, oh, you want something? Expensive.
That's the bad
you don't
dynamic.
want it? Here it is. So, I have a feeling that we're going to get involved. The government's going to get involved with some of the way they do these things, because this is where that data comes in. If they are applying dynamic pricing based on data points that they have in theory stolen on you and using those against you, there's a problem with that. I promise, Crown. I love those guys. They're not doing that.
No.
They're not doing that stuff. And it brings up a good point. So as the other side of this, as the retailer, I will say, because you made the best investment in the world, which was me, that you are committed to investment. Talk about the investments that you've made and talk about how that puts you in an interesting position of leverage over the brands that we're talking to. And I don't want to mean leverage like we're trying to take advantage. I mean leverage like this is a freaking business and this is how this works.
Yeah, listen, we've been doing this 7-8 months now, me and you together. And, we have found out so many tools that are out there. And we've talked about in some past episodes how AI, we are going to use it to our advantage to really get better and better and better out there. And so we really, I think, and I'm excited about having the know-how and the power to go out there and say, listen, I can drive people to the store. We can bring them in to shop for engagement rings and wedding bands. I mean, shoot, Nick, January, how unbelievable was bridal in January?
I hadn't worked here, and I thought that it was going to be December 25th. We were going to shut off the switch. The world was just going to stop. And to be honest with you, we have more leads come in from Christmas Day to now than we had for January, November, December, November put together.
There were a lot of dads out there saying yes to these boys out there, because at Christmas time there was some asks going on, because the minute January 1st came, boom.
That must be it. These smart kids are like, look, the world is in turmoil. You need a man. And they were like, let's do this thing. I love it. All right. So we got a little heavy handed with this one. All right. So we're not going to beat anybody up. We love the partners. Talk about what you're most excited with, to hang, to eat, golf course on site, 80-degree weather. Man, I saw an In-N-Out. I am freaking stoked for In-N-Out. And I'm not going like Nick on like a lettuce bun. I'm going double animal style fries, 8:30 at night. I'm not going to sleep because I'm going to have heartburn. I don't even care. That's how stoked I am.
I am absolutely most excited. For whatever reason is, maybe it's the vibes, maybe it's you always see some golfers or some people, whatnot, but Nobu and Scottsdale, I love it. We've done Nobu in plenty of other cities, but Nobu and Scottsdale, love it.
Scottsdale, the main strip of Scottsdale is unlike anything else because it just comes out of nowhere. The rest of Phoenix, and it's not, look, sexy is a weird word to say, but Phoenix is just a valley of perpendicular streets running into each other for thousands of miles.
Could be more boring.
There's nothing more. The only thing that you see is that strip in Scottsdale.
That's it.
With like the jacuzzis into the decks. It's just it's like a little bit of Vegas that they just took and went, you know what? The only thing wrong with Vegas is the heat. So let's find the only place on earth that's a little bit hotter and just make a second Vegas. Other than maybe Death Valley, like that's it. Vegas got 113. Arizona does 117, 118 daily.
Easy.
That is a different type of temperature. That is like, if you are not equipped for that, that's when the water actually sweats out of your brain and you become dumber just by being there.
I can thankfully say I've never been to Arizona in the summer, but I go every year for this show, this time of year, and the weather couldn't be better. Cool in the morning, sweater on. Golfing, it's just the golf courses are so good. You know, you got Waste Management Phoenix Open.
It's the same
follows
weekend.
us.
It follows us.
You know, we leave on Wednesday. Pros come in, so it's got that little crossover feel. It's always Super Bowls coming up. One year the Super Bowl was in Phoenix when we were there.
No way.
So it was really, really fun. It's just a fun city. I really love it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. And then what about as far as trends go? You know, it seems to me like the trends are much slower than I thought they were. Like we're still talking about bezel set and stacking. Anything you're looking forward to, any brands that you're looking forward to be bellwethers of new styles, anything that as a company we're looking for, because I know when we talk about fashion jewelry, if you can catch that next big trend on the right side, that brand that's up and coming, that drives that demand, it's the place to be. So anything you're looking out for.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's going to be obvious, honestly, and that's going to be silver fashion lines that represent luxury and represent the brands well. And I said it to someone the other day, actually. I think you were on the email. Shout out to Mitzi Solomon, Countdown for a Cure. You know, we were trying to do a butterfly necklace for her, and I suggested, you know, why not let's do it in silver? Because silver now, in my opinion, it's not going to take very long for people to think of silver as big time luxury because now all of a sudden it's not $30 an ounce at $115 an ounce and climbing. You're talking about a real price point. You're talking about a precious metal, a nice piece of jewelry. And there's never been anything wrong with silver. It just was always that lower on the totem pole compared to gold.
Well, because gold is unmistakably gold. Yellow gold especially. Silver can be stainless steel. There's a lot of cheap ways to make something that looks like silver. And there's cheap ways to make gold too, don't get me wrong.
But I think sterling silver is going to have a recreation and a buzzword that aligns itself with quality because now, to be quite honest with you, right? Sometimes, not always, right, folks, that we equate quality with price, but there's no doubt about it. If you go to buy a piece of jewelry and it's $5 at the counter at your local Claire's or something, you're not going to associate that with quality, and it's not.
It's a Kubrick zirconia issue,
you know, but they're also not going to be having sterling silver on top of their counter. It's all going to shift, right? Where you used to see sterling silver, you're not anymore, and where you're used to not see it, you're going to see it. So I think that's the trend, and I'm excited to see if anyone comes up with something, you know, beautiful this show.
And really, it's different, obviously, of a complexity of metal, but casting it is the exact same way you would cast gold. You can take your molds for gold, turn it into silver. And I'm curious, like, if you think about something like studs, right? The diamond's the centerpiece there. Who cares if they're silver? Right. It's still a practical metal. You clean it up, it'll last forever as long as you maintain it like you do gold. And they're probably actually a little better than gold to maintain, right? A little easier and cleaner. That's why they use it for piercings and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's and listen, who's going to get creative, right? Where you put the post becomes platinum, but the hook is, you know, the basket's silver. So I just think it's going to be really fascinating to see. So the talk of the town. I don't know if people find it interesting. Please comment on this because I would love to know. Obviously, it's interesting for us, the metal market, but you know, these guys just, you know, as a fun fact to kind of top off the show here, the refineries have stopped buying silver right now. You cannot actually go and sell your silver as of today, they will not take it. I mean, that's how volatile
Got it.
things are
You're
right
talking about
now.
the people who would melt it down and turn it back into raw silver to use.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really an interesting time. We're buying, obviously, because we think it's going to keep going up.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those of you out there that have your old tea sets and whatnot, make sure you find out if they're sterling silver, because then they're worth a good penny.
Yeah, I mean, we had somebody who came in from the radio station that came in buying a ring, and all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I bought some silver a couple years ago. What was that silver worth?"
Nick, he almost paid for the entire ring with the silver.
It's insane. And it's not even a thought point. So, like, you know what? That those doomsayers that said the world was ending and they were buying rations and gold and all these things, like, this is coming real, guys. It's coming real, guys. And at the same time, all those crypto bros that went with crypto, it's falling directly relative to the increase in these precious metals. And I think it's a little psychology. I think the tangibility of it is a false sense of reality. Like, very few people actually own the gold, right? They do, but there's ETFs around it now. You have a gold process coin that was meant for a different purpose. So it's going to be fascinating. As always, I am excited for the weird stuff. I love weird minerals and materials. And I love that everybody, like, they're selling, but it doesn't feel like you're being sold. It feels like you're in like an insider club and like you're just trading wares. Like, again, I hate to say it, but it's like that gypsy flea market. It's like you're in a Moroccan bazaar and everyone's just like, you take this, I give this. You want a tiramisu cake? I got cake. Like, it's just an amazing place. So we're excited for it. We are going to actually ask all of these questions, have video, have audio from it. You're going to see a great episode coming from it. We'll be live. We're meeting with the founders of the show. We got everything coming. So again, Legacy of Luxury coming to you from Salmon Brothers Studios, about to get on a plane to go to Centurion. And I want to wish Jaron in advance because he's about to have his third baby. So he might leave Centurion in the middle and leave me as someone 9 months in the industry there to hold down the ship, which will be so funny to see. But good luck with that, Jaron.
Thank you.
And we will catch you next time.